Mille Lacs Lake bassin. Are you having problems catching them? It's August, and this is the dog days of summer. This is probably the toughest month to get on a really good bite on a Mille Lacs. And I've been running guide trips out there from time to time and just doing surrounding lakes too, doing largemouth, smallmouth, a little bit of everything. And it's been a challenge. Some days we've had guide trips out on the pond this year just going into August right now. So I've had guide trips this year where we literally catch 5 fish, 6 fish, and then the very next day I can bump into the right deal and we catch like 25. So it really just depends on the day. And this is the time of year when it starts doing that, where the bite just gets tougher and tougher and tougher. I think August is probably the most common month that people really want me to expand during the seminars on, because it just does get so brutal tough. Summertime is a tough time to catch smallmouth bass out on the pond. And I want to make it easier on you guys, so we're going to show you some cool new baits and some old school baits that I kind of brought back that were kind of cool. Like a few years ago, they were trending, everybody was buying them. I brought them back this year, and guys, they still bite them. So let's just start it off. I don't got a ton of rods on the deck right now, but I would say this much. Let's just say, for example, you're getting around fish and you have the opportunity to try out a ton of different baits. I think that this is the time of year when presentation just can mean everything. I really believe that. Just judging by the state of the fish, especially based on the fact that they've been caught all spring, going into summer off the post spawn, they're a little bit beat up. So how can we trick these fish into biting? Especially if we know that we're in some areas and we've seen a lot of boats go through. It's kind of tough to get them to bite. You got to have the right presentation in order to trigger those strikes. So I'm going to start off with one bait that basically broke the internet, I think, and a lot of guys were talking about them at the beginning of the season, post spawn. It's a great bait. You know, I'm telling you guys, in the summertime, when these fish can get extremely picky, this bait can be a home wrecker, and that is the Makamishi by G-Crack. And what it is it's just basically, you know, this is the elastomer version, so that's why I have that nail weight in there. But if I didn't have the elastomer version and I just had the regular, it would just be weightless and I'd wacky fish it. But I got a little Nico hack in there. I'm gonna show you guys what that looks like. And I've honestly become more fond of these things than the O-ring. So you got that white piece of plastic right there that's keeping the hook inside of it. As you guys can see, there's a little orifice inside of it. And then on the other side, you have that pad or that landing strip right there. So basically this is shaped like an arrow. So I would take this, punch it through, and now, once I push it through, I got a little circle on the end of it, and I just shove my hook through. This part would be a point, and I just cut it off. Now I got an eco hack. So that's like probably, I think I like this better than the bands. I don't know why. I think that I lose less baits for number one. So I started using this year, this Nico hack, and I'm just a big fan of it. So yeah, Makamishi, Nico rigged or wacky rigged. Nico rigged if you have the elastomer version. Great bait to get bit this time of year. It's just that slow fall, intrigues the fish. And you know, one thing that I started doing, and I learned this from just watching a Mille Lacs Lake ham or Dom, you can throw this out and you just let it sit. And there are times where if you just leave it sit, I've let it sit there for like 45 seconds, it'll float right past them and they'll follow it going down. And if you just let it sit for 30, 40 seconds, every now and then they'll pick it up, which is pretty cool because you probably weren't gonna trigger that fish by keeping the bait above his head. So that's a lot of times what I do. Scope is gonna tell you exactly what those fish want you to do and how they want to be caught. So when I throw a bait over a fish, and especially this Nico rig, when I throw it over them and I see them rise to it, yes, I'm gonna try and keep it above their heads and try to get them to engage with the bait and bite it. When they don't do that, then I'm just gonna let it fall right past them, even if they rise way up to the top, which typically indicates that they're gonna bite it. But even if they rise straight up to the top, and then if I couldn't get them to bite on the cast before that, then the next one I'm just gonna let it hit bottom, see what happens. Throw it with a 7-foot medium rod. 4000 series Shimano Sustain, great reel, 10-pound braid to a 10-pound leader. Pretty simple stuff. And another thing that happens in August too, as the water temp gets warmer, I personally believe, and this is just a regular rule of thumb, that The lighter the bait, the better. Everything needs to fall slower. It equals way higher cast to catch percentages, in my opinion, when you got everything just so much lighter. It just looks way natural. The fish get way pickier. And then another thing that I'm gonna do is I might back off into 8-pound test fluorocarbon, which I have no problem doing whatsoever, because out there you really don't got much to get hung on. You know, there's no grass or nothing like that in most areas, so for the most part you don't really have to have a big fear of losing a bunch of fish because of dialing down into that 8-pound test. All right, next we got a tube. Now, I love this green pumpkin tube, man, and I talked about this earlier in the season, this NetBait 2.5-inch finesse tube, which is a great tube, running it with the Great Lakes finesse tube head, 1/8 ounce. I think this thing's so awesome because a lot of guys ask you, how do you fish it? And realistically, most of the time, I don't even really get a chance to move this thing when I cast it out when I do get bit. I cast it out, as soon as it hits bottom, I'll see my line just starting to run. But when I am fishing it, most of the time I'm just dragging it. I'm not popping it, I'm not doing anything like that. If the fish tell me that they want me to fish it that way, I will. But for the most part, I bust this out when the bite gets super, super tough. And that's gonna mean that we gotta fish it super slow in order to trigger those strikes. And so a lot of dragging it, a lot of times too, this is such a light head. And so if you have any type of wind out there, and even if you don't have wind, I guess, if there's a decent undercurrent underneath the water, this thing just moves on its own. It looks so natural too. I've sat here and watched it, and it just looks awesome underwater when it's just moving with the flow or the current of the lake, and it gets you a lot of bites. So honestly, what I do a lot of times, and if it's windy, it's even better. A lot of times I bomb cast this thing out and I literally just hold my rod tip up like this until I see my line start to run or I feel a bite within my rod. I'll just set the hook and it's gone. So that's kind of how I fish this bait. Now, I'm using a 7'4" medium HFX series Halo rod, and I think that you could go, this rod's got great backbone. It's great for a tube, and I think that this would be great for throwing anything up to like 1/4 ounce tube heads. And it's got all the right sensitivity, good backbone. It's just a good rod in general, and it's a workhorse. I can do a lot with this rod. I don't have to just throw tubes with it. Next, I got a drop shot. And, you know, I love drop shot in that Eco Shad. I like drop shot in, you know, the Twitch Minnow and a couple other little small sneaky baits. And, you know, typically this time of year is when I really use the dice a lot. But I think that dice has been played out, man. I think too many fish have seen it. So I do have a little throwback bait that I'm busting out today, and that is this guy right here. Do you guys remember that thing? You guys remember that thing a few years ago when they were going for like $18 a pack on eBay? So the Berkley Flatworm, man, this thing definitely got its attention a few years ago, and maybe even 5, 7 years ago or something like that. I remember when these things were like $12 to $18 a pack on eBay. Okay, you couldn't find them anywhere. Now you can get as many as you want. The Berkley Flatworm still gets bit, guys. This Max Scent Flatworm is the deal. Caught a lot of bass on it the other day out on the pond. So definitely a great option. Don't sleep on it, dude. Don't sleep on it. It still gets bit, I promise. You don't have to be using fuzzy baits to get bit. So I put this on for just to see if they still like it. And I don't know why, but they still like it. It's just it is a truly tested bait that works, and I nose hook this bait. I do not fully thread it on. I used to like fully threading it on, like that owner cover shot hook, and I talked about that a lot, about how like just a straight shank, like worm hook or whatever, could be super beneficial because you can slide the whole thing on. But one thing that I found out is that that bait just like it goes up to the keeper, and then it comes off the keeper, and then it gets really, really loose all the time. And I found that if I nose hook this bait, I get way more action out of it. So definitely something to think about. Dropshot Rod, 7'4" medium light Halo HFX series, and then I got a 3000 series Dio Fuego. I think for drop shotting, I don't really need a 4000 series reel. It's one of the few spinning applications that I prefer a 3000 series reel, and it would be this and minnow fishing probably for the 3000. But this is an extremely great drop shot rod, and it not only is an awesome drop shot rod, but it's freaking stout hair jig rod. I did not lose hardly any fish on this thing whipping a hair jig around this year. It's got great parabolic bend, perfect for when you're actually catching them right under the boat too. Not too long, just in a great all around finesse-y rod. So, and you can take like, one thing I did with this rod a lot this spring is I like to use a 3/32 ounce head a lot for throwing swimmers and just slow rolling them in like really shallow water. We're talking 8 feet and under, 10 feet and under. And this rod can get that 3/32 out there like 50 times further than the medium rod. It's just because of that really whippy action in the rod. It can just get it out there. Next, Ned Rig ain't going nowhere, and it works in August. It works basically 365 days a year, and as you guys can see, that trailer is just beat up. Yep. And this color is growing on me. I think I don't know what it's called. But this is our new bait release from NetBaits. This is the Sonic's Pinch in the Hextech line, or in the Finicky lineup actually. And the Finicky lineup is dedicated to catching really finicky fish, hence the name. And I tell you guys what, this is growing on me really fast. It's one of my favorite finesse trailers. This doubles over as a great finesse football jig trailer and great Ned Rig trailer, and it can also be drop shotted. Drop shotting it is seriously deadly, and I probably should have had one tied up, but I'll drop shot this bad boy, and I get a lot of bites with the drop shot, especially for largemouth. Great bait. But throwing this Ned bait on a Halo BB series Sculpin rod, and I know that I've talked about it. You guys are probably hating the fact that I keep on bringing it up, but this is a nasty bottom contact rod. 4000 series Shimano Vanford. I'm really loving these Vanfords. 10-pound test braid to a 10-pound test leader. This is definitely one of the best bottom contact combos that you guys can get. Seriously, it's just a freaking workhorse. For you guys trying to save a little bit of money, this thing has a hybrid use from, you know, swim baits, Nico rigs, you know, strolling a minnow, doing the Ned deal, or bottom contact baits. It's got the whole package, and so I definitely suggest this for the guys that are trying to save a little bit of cash and get multi-purpose use out of their rods. All right, I had 2 Dropshot rigs tied up, and usually this time of year, whenever I'm guiding, I always have 2 Dropshot rigs tied up. I usually like to mix it up really good with clients and have them throwing 2 different baits a lot, but this Dropshot gets bit this time of year out on the pond. The bait I have for you guys is the 2-way, but I made it a 1-way. All I did was cut it in half. So you would just take one of these bad boys, splice it right in half, and just use 1/2 for the Dropshot bait. And this is the one that I've been catching them pretty good with out there, and it's green pumpkin and orange, just a basic craw color. And I got a 1/8 ounce Dropshot weight on there. And again, just same sentiment of everything's got to be light. We want everything full, like we want everything falling super slow. And so that's kind of the deal with the 1/8 ounce Dropshot weight. Now, one thing that I want to mention when I'm drop shotting, and I've seen this happen so many times, where I use that 1/8 ounce weight, I'm drop shotting at 20-some feet. It takes forever for that bait to fall down. But one of the things that happens, and it happens pretty frequently, is those fish will come up and they will snipe this bait right out of the water column. They'll eat it before it even hits bottom, and that's one of the sweet parts with that slow fall of this drop shot. I know that it takes forever for that thing to get down there, and it gets a little bit annoying, but trust me, it's worth it when a 5-pounder is on the end of your rod and it's screaming. I'm using the same exact rod as I was in my other drop shot setup, 7'4" medium light, running a Daiwa Tatula 4000 LT, and the only reason why I got this reel on here is because my other reel was being used for something else, but optimally I'd have a 3000 series reel on this rod. One thing that I should mention about these HFX series rods is they're actually pretty light. That medium light's pretty awesome. Next, I got the minnow. You know, I got the minnow out, and that's the last ace. This minnow is growing on me. I catch a lot of bass with it, both largemouth and smallmouth bass. But one thing I'll tell you is that this BB series rod is just, it does exactly what it's made for. And if I know that I touched on this in one of my minnow videos, But if you guys look at this rod, all right, I'm gonna show you guys the bend on this thing, and this is what makes it so unique, and this is why you can land giants with this thing. You know, Hamner made this thing, Justin Hamner, and he's from down south, so they're catching double digits out there, you know. So they want, you want to have a rod with the right backbone and the exact tip that you need in order to catch these fish. I'm gonna show you guys what's unique about this thing. So in the other video, I believe I didn't get like everything in the picture frame, so hopefully this one works. So when I put pressure on this tip, watch this, okay? Watch where the bend goes to, okay? Now, I'm just gonna stop it. Look where it stops, okay? We're in about the 4th guide down. And what that means is it's got a super, super quick tip. And I wanna say it's probably extra fast. It's labeled fast, but I would call it extra fast or like quick. Now, what that does is when that fish bites onto the bait, your rod loads up in the right place. So for example, if this rod right here started bending at this guide right here, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guides down. So if it starts bending down here, that means that when this rod loads up, it has to go all the way down, you know, probably down to here where the pressure starts for this to start loading up. When it loads up that slow, you're gonna lose a ton of fish, in my opinion. I think that you want that tip to be extra fast, but then at the same time, you don't want it to be too fast. And that's where this bend of the pole just really, really loads up perfectly for scoping. So, you know, you don't have to worry about losing a giant 10-pound fish for you down south anglers that are watching this. You guys don't have to worry about losing a giant because this rod loads up in the ideal place for giant fish. So it's definitely something to think about when you're choosing your scoping rods. Even if you didn't get this one, is how does this thing load up? How many fish am I gonna lose? How many fish am I gonna catch? And I just think that my landing percentage is so high with this rod. Why would I use any different one? Running this with the 3000 series Tatula LT. 3000 series is ideal for minnow shaking, like I was just saying. And running it with the queen tackle head, I got several different heads that I like that I expand on in like one of my other videos. Next, we got an eco rig. I really like scoping it, and I thought that, you know, outside of, you know, a minnow, what could I use that's just different than a minnow that can get a fish to bite, that has a pretty equal landing percentage, and at the same time gives me the ability to snipe or, you know, isolate a single fish. What is like the best bait that I can keep above their heads and be able to do that with? And that's gonna be either a wacky / Nico rig. So I got the NetBait Finicky Series prop duster. It's exactly like our prop duster minnow, except on this one, it's an actual worm. So what this is this is a 5.5-inch straight tail worm. And then as you guys can see, it's got that little prop on the back of it. So it kind of looks like a bait fish. It could look like a lot of different things in the water. But one thing that's for certain, those smallmouth absolutely love this thing. And I like using, you know, it just depends. It depends on the bite that day, but I got basically a 1 32nd ounce weight in this thing, and that gives it a pretty like fast fall rate in my opinion. You know, 1/64 would probably be super ideal for fishing on the pond. So yeah, I probably throw one of those in there, and then I have it on an owner cover shot hook, straight owner cover shot hook, number 2, or actually I think it's number 1. And then same thing, man, a Halo HFX series medium. This rod's growing on me. Like I said, it is the nuts and bolts of the guide service, and great for just doing everything with. Now, got a Shimano Vanford 4000, 10-pound braid to a 10-pound leader, just like all the other setups. But yeah, this medium 7-foot Halo HFX series is definitely a perfect Nico rig rod, and I bet that, you know, your BB series rod could do it just as good. So all right, boys, I gotta go get rigged up. I got a little derby tonight, a little Tuesday nighter that I'm gonna go fish with my boy Bang, and hopefully we can cough up a dub. So until next time, you know where you'll find me, on the water. Oh yeah, if you're looking for a guide trip, fall is coming, man. September is probably, between September and November, best time of the year by far. You know, multiple bags over 27 pounds last year came in from clients and myself. Had a great time on the water, man. So I promise you guys, if you book a trip in the fall, odds are you won't be disappointed. Till next time, boys, we'll see us on the water. Oh my God, you guys. Stay down. Oh my God, bro. Oh my God, stay down. Stay down, do not jump. Oh my God, bro. That's a big one. That's a freaking big one, dude. Oh my God, I can't even move him. Definitely not gonna try boat flipping this one. This is a straight unit. Stay down. Straight unit.